So, in this chapter, he talks about a tournament, and tournaments were a big thing back then, or at least it seems to be. And what it was jousting and sword fighting, and it was often done in a way where it was done relatively safely, and people weren't killed, or they didn't try to kill each other. Instead of having sharp pointed lances, they had blunted lances. And the idea was more to unhorse the person than to actually run them through. Now, this is where you get a lot of the suits of the full plate mail. A lot of them were more designed for tournaments because they weren't exactly practical in the field. But they were great when somebody was riding at you and trying to knock you off your horse. Now, and actually, this was well before the full plate mail was developed. That was 700 years later. Another invention that really made jousting practical was stirrups. And those wouldn't be invented for another 500 or 600 years. And what stirrups are is they are little footholds that attach to the saddle, and the saddle is tied down to the horse. So what happens is that allows you to use the full weight and the full mass of the horse, because you stand in the stirrups, you apply pressure down the stirrups, and you lean into the lance. So the lance hits the guy, and the lance pushes back on you, but it's braced up against your body. So that pushes up against you, and your feet are dug into the stirrups. And so you catch yourself on the stirrups, and that pushes back, and the pushes back on the saddle, and the saddle pushes back on the horse. So you have the full ton of the horse focused in on the weight, on the shape of the lance, which allows you to knock people off and not be knocked off at the same time. So stirrups were this huge military invention that is in a lot of ways underrated, but people who know, this is one of those things, if you know, you know. But stirrups were this incredible military invention that weren't around yet. So, talks about the knight who he accidentally offended, and you got to be careful about what you say and who hears it. I know I've made plenty of mistakes like this myself, and so I'm both a good person and a bad person to talk about this, because you can really accidentally offend people, and you need to kind of watch it. He accidentally offended someone, and the person's like, okay, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to come out and we're going to fight to the death. And 3.5 years, once I get back from looking for the Holy Grail. And as I've said before, King Arthur is tied up with the Grail myth. And the Holy Grail is the cup that Jesus used at the Last Supper. So here you have Jesus doing a Passover dinner with all of his disciples. And one of the things of the Passover dinner is they have a cup of wine. And the tradition was that Jesus had this cup and he was sharing it with all of his disciples. So he takes a drink and he passes it around, and everyone takes a drink from the same cup. So that's tying them all together. And there were all sorts of myths around the cup once Jesus was after the crucifixion. One of the myths was that Joseph of Arimathea used the cup to catch the blood of Christ as he was dying on the cross. There's another one that the Grail would keep you young. There's another that the Grail would heal whatever injuries. So if you're to look at the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade with Sean Connery and Harrison Ford, it's the third movie in the Indiana Jones series, and it's, some people would say it's the best, but it's a pretty good one. And so that was a quest trying to find this Holy Grail, and knights had been looking for it forever. It's pretty much like once they developed knights and chivalry, they started looking for the Holy Grail and trying to. That was part of the idea of the Crusades, was that they would be looking for the Holy Grail in the middle of recapturing the Holy Land from the Muslims. But anyway, looking for the Holy Grail. And as I said, this was all tied up in the Arthur mythology. because at one point Arthur explicitly sent all of his knights out to look for the Holy Grail. And so this knight goes and he's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to kill you in 3.5 years when I get back from looking for the Holy Grail. So the guy's out looking for the Holy Grail, but the thing is that no one knows what it looks like. There are some stories that it's gold and encrusted with jewels. There's others that's like, oh, it's just a plain wooden cup. Oh, maybe it was clay. Maybe it was carved from stone. There's one story that I've seen where it was carved from a single piece of jade. So you have a jade crystal, yay big, carved into this chalice. But it could be a plate almost, no idea of what it looks like. And the thing is that it's not really important. Because the artifacts and such should not be that important. And you almost get this idolatry of the artifacts, and which is just totally weird. It goes against so much that's like, oh, this thing is like, no, that's not an important thing. But people tend to look at it as, oh, this is the end all and be all. And who knows? But anyway, so the knight said, I'm going to go off and I'm going to come back and kill you. So he talked about the torments, and he said that this didn't interest him, but he paid attention to it because his friends were interested in it. And that's probably the most important lesson of the chapter, is that you should pay attention to the things that your friends are interested in, because this will help you bond with your friends, and friends are important. That, two people can do far more than one. There have been so many times where it's like, I'm working on something, I need a third hand. Well, if you have friends, the friends can have the third hand. If I'm carrying something big and heavy, it's amazing how much easier it is to carry something big and heavy with another person at the other end of the big thing. Even if the weight's not that much, it's just the extra balance, the extra whatever. So having friends are important. Having friends who are helpers is important. And being interested in the things that your friends are, or at least showing some interest. So let's say your friends are into makeup and you're not into makeup. You're just like, okay, that's nice. You look good there. Or if your friends are into Legos and you're not into Legos, it's like, oh, I see what you did there. And you put the Legos together, and that's an interesting shape. Or baseball. Oh, so that's what the infield fly rule is. That's interesting. So you mean to tell me he's out, even though nobody caught the ball? Yeah, because the ball was catchable, so he's out. Because there's a runner on first, and I don't know. Infield fly rule is like offsides in football or soccer. Yes, sorry. It's like offsides in soccer. It's like, well, it's complicated, and people who know it, and if you know, you know.
It's offside.
Offside. Yes. Lolly's correcting my sport term. Okay, but as I said, pay attention to the things that your friends are interested in and try and learn and understand, because it helps to make friends, and that's just a little lift. It's a little bit of effort. And if you put in the little bit of effort to get friends, you can get huge amounts of effort out of them. So, make friends. Don't kill people on horses. Yeah.